Like this stuff.
Now, let's get to the meat.
That wasn't it.
No, let's get to the
We
meat of
we
it.
was just skimming around, huh?
Yeah. So look, I'm finna throw something out there. I just read this off of Instagram. I follow this lady. I ain't gonna give her no shout out yet until I get on there. But women fumble good men too.
Mm.
That was the thing. And my thing was do toxic women destroy good men and vice versa? Run it for me, Pete. What you got?
So so the topic came from Instagram from a woman who
Hmm.
said that women
Women
fumble good
fumble,
men too,
correct.
meaning that there obviously is a open discussion, open and endless discussion of how men fumble good women.
Hmm.
And and someone felt the need to say, yeah, we know that story, but let's talk about women fumbling good men.
Right.
And and then what you add to that is the reason of the fumbling because the woman could be toxic.
Right. Do toxic women ruin good men?
Do toxic women ruin good men?
Hmm.
My first question before I answer the question, according to how you phrased it, would be, tell me what a toxic woman is. What's a
You know what
toxic
you
woman?
know what a toxic woman is, and everybody who on here listen know what a toxic woman is. We ain't gotta. We ain't even. You know what? You know. You know if you're in a toxic relationship, and you know if you're dealing with somebody toxic. So that's self-explanatory. She ain't no good.
So
Complain all
toxic
the
people,
time.
toxic people,
Be- because the way we're going to. You heard the question, but because we got to answer it from both sides, right?
toxic
So
people.
we'll go with toxic people. So do toxic, yeah, do toxic people ruin good
But no, no,
people?
no, no, no. I'm gonna answer it both ways. So first, we'll go because that's the question at hand. It's but we'll always bring it back to people. I
Right.
don't mind. I don't mind answering it,
Now
individually.
go
As
for it.
long as we always bring it back to people. I think that toxic is when you say toxic, you're talking about behaviors and the lack of best practices. So really, you're talking about bad habits. A person that has a lot of bad habits and they are okay with those habits. They are so okay with those habits that they actually believe that that is the way life should be lived and that everyone around them should fall in line accordingly. And if they're not living like their bad habits, that is something wrong with that individual, and they will find ways to ruin something that could have been good because of their own toxic behavior, right? They will they could have changed for the better, but because change is not in their best practices, instead of changing for the better, they would self-sabotage because they're used to self-sabotage. By the way, when you say someone is toxic, they are in the practice of self-sabotaging. So in their own practice of self-sabotaging, yes, a woman could ruin their opportunity with a good man because being toxic really ain't doing nothing to nobody else. They hurting themselves at the end of the day. Because if this man or this person or this woman was good and they come into or they were not toxic and they get into a toxic relationship with anyone, a sister, a brother, a father, a mother, a significant other, bars. Um, if they get into a top bars, if they get into a toxic relationship of any sort, then if they were not toxic themselves and they leave the relationship, that means that they made the decision more than likely to leave, right? Because that's what they're saying. The non-toxic individual was lost by the toxic individual, right? And they left. Now, if that individual allows themselves to be corrupted, which I think is also what you're asking, allows themselves to be corrupted, then they have a weakness. They were not able to stand on their best practices or their habits and to allow someone who is toxic to overcome yourself. Because if you are not toxic, when you leave, you're still going to not be toxic, and that person is still going to be self-sabotaging themselves. You'll just remove yourself from that. But if a person is not wise enough to remove themselves from a toxic environment and they take that on, and women have gone through this, men have gone through this, people have gone through this, where they stay in a toxic environment, then they are not making wise decisions. That would be foolish. So can a toxic person affect a person that's not toxic? Absolutely. If they stupid enough to let it happen. And if they are vulnerable enough to make it happen, let it happen. Some people are not just being stupid and chasing something. Some people are vulnerable because of circumstances and afraid to go outside of that toxic environment because they feel like there's nothing else. But that's just a feeling. There's always something better, even if it's just you standing on your own and figuring out what that is and how that looks.
So you ever heard that saying, the hardest thing to overcome is finding out that the person you love was sent here to teach you a lesson? All right. So sometimes men and women, I'm gonna use people, but in this case, I'm gonna use whatever. Sometimes you can love somebody so much that you want to see the best in them. You want to give everything you have, or you want to grow, right? You can love somebody so much that you want to water. What they say, the grass is look always greener on the other side, but that's not accurate. The grass is greener where you water it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a lot of times you can find a person and you want to water it. You want to keep watering because you want to grow this person because you see something in this person that they don't see in themselves. So what you do is you pour into them and you pour into them and you pour into them. The problem is you can do everything right or by the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And outside of where you're at, you can have fans. You know, I don't want to say use that word fans, but you can have people who acknowledge what you do. But this person who is the closest to you, right? Their cup, right? We can say cup half full, cup half empty. Their cup has a crack in it. Their
Yeah.
cup is damaged, where you would call it self-sabotaging, right? This person only wants to see the bad in you. You can get up and go to work. You ain't making enough money. You can have a nice car. Why you driving that piece of crap? Right? How you doing this morning? You know, you can have all these negative, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? That's what I like to call the vampires. You got all this negative energy. You call it the bad practices. I just call it a bad attitude. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They have
Yeah.
bad attitudes.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is they give so much negativity off, so much negative energy that they start making you feel low. Your self-esteem can get low. And what happens is you get around a low vibrational person. When a person has low vibrations, a low vibration is going to look for the highest vibration, so it can bring it down to its level. This is the problem with people with low vibrations. They don't want to elevate their vibration. They want to pull you down to theirs. So when I ask, can a toxic woman ruin a good man? Yes, because they're vibrating low. And one word that you used earlier is subconsciously. They don't even know their vibration is low. They don't even know that they're radiating negative energy. To them, their energy is good. It's positive because the group that they're in, right? The group that they're in is a low vibrational group. So if you're stuck in a low vibrational group, everybody around you who's vibrating low, when you get somebody of high vibrations come along, everybody attracts to them. But instead of you being that person being happy or congratulatory or whatever, they become very negative, and they start to pour this person down. But because you love this person so much and you want to pour into them, you pour and you water and you pour and you water, but their cup is damaged, so they can't hold what you're pouring into them. They can't stand the pressure. They can't stand the weight of what's being poured into them. So therefore, their foundation is no longer good, but you're pouring all of you into them for somebody who's not able to receive and withstand the goodness and the greatness that you're giving them because they're already damaged. So yes, that is my answer. A toxic woman can ruin a toxic man, or a toxic man can ruin a toxic woman because, like you said, they're self-sabotaged and they're not able to withstand from all the damage and hurt and traumas that they deal with. And in order to be able to start dealing with these things, you have to learn to start healing. Again, we go back to focus on your best practices, not the bad ones.